My name is Wale Adefarasin. I am the General Overseer of Guiding Light Assembly, which is headquartered here in Ikoyi. I think government's handling of COVID-19 has varied from across different parts of Nigeria. In some parts of Nigeria, government has gone into denial and wants to pretend that COVID-19 doesn't exist in their state. In other parts, government has been very active. And I want to credit Lagos State particularly because Lagos State had experience dealing with Ebola and had begun to prepare as soon as they knew that a pandemic was around and could come to Nigeria. So, nobody has had the capacity to deal with a pandemic of these proportions. But Lagos State have done well. The private sector have done well in coming alongside government to help provide facilities. So generally, I can't say anybody has done 100% because we've had a lockdown which was not effective. A lot of people did not obey the lockdown rules and so on. But I'm sure you'll ask me about those later on. No. So yeah, I would score governments across the country, some very poorly and others very well. One of the things about COVID-19 is it spreads very rapidly from person to person. If somebody is infected with COVID-19, it only takes 15 minutes to be with them and there's a very good chance that you could be infected, especially if social distancing measures are not taken. So a church and a mosque, any public gathering where people are coming from different places, it facilitates the spreading of the virus. So it made sense for government to say churches and mosques, indeed all the events that we have, all the weddings and things where people gather together should be cancelled for the time being. Well, we could be shutting the stable door after the horse has bolted. I think that the spread, especially in Lagos, and we probably heard some of this on the news yesterday, the spread has already entered the community. So locking down now may not be as effective as it would have been if at the time the spread was lifted, the lockdown was lifted, it had not been lifted. So I think that it's important that there's an education that goes alongside a lockdown. I don't think it would serve any purpose to go back to lockdown, but people should be educated, because if there's no lockdown, you have a responsibility to yourself and to your family to lock yourself down. Don't go anywhere except it is absolutely essential, like going to buy food or going to the hospital if you're sick. So now there's more individual responsibility being transferred to individuals as opposed to government saying we ban you from going out. I would say to you, first of all, that the church never closed. The church is not a building. But am I in favor of the buildings reopening? Yes, but not until it is safe to do so. That's the important thing, that we have to be sure that we are able to keep people that come to worship in church or worship in mosques at a distance from one another, that somebody cannot catch the virus. One of the problems with COVID-19 is that about 70% of the people that get it do not have any symptoms. So they can spread the disease, but they don't even know they have it. And that is why it's essential that we don't bring people together unless it's necessary. By the time they're ready to come back, we will be much better prepared. And I say this because Lagos State has issued us guidelines. They've issued us guidelines which require us to keep social distancing in our seating, to make sure people do not have a high temperature before they enter the church building, to make sure that they wash their hands, sanitize, to decontaminate the building, and all of these things we're putting in place. We're having to buy equipment so that we can decontaminate people as they enter the church. There's a lot of expense involved, but we have to do it because life is far more important than money. Let me start with an area that people don't talk about very much, and that's health. Because COVID-19 on the one hand can kill, it can affect people's health, but mental health has not been talked about very much, and yet mental health is very important. A lot of people live alone and have had to stay on their own for going on 4 months now. And that can affect a person's mental health. So that's one of the areas of damage. Naturally, in churches, when people come to church, we take offerings, and because they're not coming to church, our offering levels is expected to decline. However, with the introduction of cashless society, people are able to give and support the work of the ministry through online donations and so on. So yes, it has affected us, but only to a small degree. Now, in terms of work, a lot of our members have not been able to work because their businesses, if you're a hairdresser, you can't go to the salon because the salon is not open. Your employer is unlikely to want to carry the cost of paying your salary while you're not working. So a lot of our members have had that, and we've had to put into place schemes where we've supported our members who had no income coming in. So for the first weeks while there was a total lockdown, we were giving money every week to many of our people who did not have any funds coming in. So it has affected us as a church in many ways, but we've been trying to cope with it. Well, I'll tell you one thing I believe about COVID-19, that God's hand is there. Now, God did not invent or afflict us with COVID-19. He allowed it. But what God is doing is helping us see the weaknesses in ourselves as individuals, in ourselves as a society. We've seen the weakness of our healthcare systems across the nation. At the time COVID-19 started, there was the idea that we would need ventilators, and there were very few ventilators. Everywhere in the world, they were trying to buy up ventilators. It's shown us that we've not devoted as much as we should have to our healthcare, to primary healthcare, and so on. It's shown us that our education has been defective. We've not, far too many Nigerians do not have the opportunity of having an education, of being given an education. It's shown us that we have unacceptable levels of poverty. And it's also shown individuals that you may have all the money you want, but it can't protect you from COVID-19. So it's shown us a lot of things, and I think God has been speaking to us as a nation. My prayer is that when COVID-19 is over, and it's going to be around for a while, when it's over, we would have learned many of the lessons that we should have learned from it. I think one of the most important things, and I've alluded to it already, is education. Let me tell you why. Right now, even people in ministry, pastors, are talking about conspiracy theories, and that all this is not about any pandemic, it's about the people wanting to control the world, and they're going to come and want to put a chip under your skin through which they can know where you are, what you're doing, and so on and so forth. and that through this chip they control, okay, and that the chip will be given as an excuse to vaccinate, that you can't get the vaccination unless you get the chip. Now, the ultimate solution to COVID-19 is vaccinations. But as you know, there's no vaccine in existence yet. When the vaccine comes into existence, we're hearing figures like at most 1 billion in the first year, 1 billion vaccinations. We're about 5 billion on Earth. So that means that more people will be without the vaccination. And my fear is that with this level of education and people falling into this idea that this is all a conspiracy theory, a lot of people will refuse the vaccination when they get the opportunity to get it. And, it's just like now. People have been told that Bill Gates has created a mosquito. Bill Gates has created a mosquito that will devour other mosquitoes and does not carry malaria. So people are saying, if that mosquito bites you, you will become infertile. You won't be able to have children. And so a lot of people have been running away from that mosquito being introduced. So when a good thing comes, because of the lack of education, people reject it. I think that's one of the challenges with all the theories that are being expounded. And I've listened to many of them, and I've not heard one empirical piece of empirical evidence to support their theories. But there you have it. This is a new world with new social media. Anything can be put on social media and can spread like wildfire in no time. The first thing is this, that in this COVID-19, I have seen God's hand in people's lives. I've seen people that have had COVID-19 and have recovered from it, and they give thanks and praise to God for that. COVID-19 has killed a few people, but 2%. And I'm not making small. Every single life is very important. But it's not as fatal as people fear. So what I say to the Christian is that, that even though darkness may endure for a night, joy comes in the morning. The most important thing that I can tell you today is please, please, please keep the rules and regulations that have been given. Don't go out unless it is absolutely essential. Wash hands frequently, sanitize, and attempt as much as possible not to touch your face. I have my face mask. I've taken it off for the purpose of this broadcast so that I could be heard clearly, but I won't go out without my face mask. So that's it. Stay well, stay blessed, and stay home. Heavenly Father, we are grateful for the opportunities you have given us, even in these times of coronavirus. Lord, I just commit our nation, in fact the whole earth, and ask, let your glory cover Nigeria, even as the waters cover the sea. Rid our land of this pandemic, and help us, Heavenly Father, to be our brother's keeper, even through the trials that we go through because of the pandemic. Restore our economy. In Jesus' precious name, I pray.